It's a shorter head, so it's going to be smaller. This one's detached as well, but kind of clearer to see actually, but so it's kind of good, but it looks like it's going to be off by the end of this lab. So we got Peroneus longus and then Peroneus brevis, the smaller one. And they're going to both go around the lateral malleolus, or your lateral ankle protrusion basically. All right, and then easiest way for the next two is to count medially, I think. There's actually three, but one of them is incredibly hard to find on all the cats, so it's want to be those ones that don't stress out too much for the test. So this first one here is flexor digitorum longus. So on the medial side you have flexor digitorum longus. On the lateral side you have extensor digitorum longus. First one over again, flexor digitorum longus. You guys can see that, it's actually detached on this guy as well. And then the last one, counting over in order, as you can see, we pull soleus back, and then there's another muscle going all along the back here. Sorry if you guys can't see. So it's all along the back here. That's flexor hallucis longus. So all along there. So that's hallucis refers to your big toe, so it's going to be the flexor of the big toe. And then the last one, which is very hard to see if you pull back, you can't see it because this one's detached, but all along the back wall of the tibia is tibialis posterior. So we have tibialis anterior here on the front near the tibia, and at the very back we have tibialis posterior. Alright, go over those guys again. So on the back side, we have our two here, gastrocnemius on the outsides, and then plantaris is that one sticking out in the middle. So plantaris, gastrocnemius. Again, if you look at the bottom attachment 2, you can see the two gastrocs, and then plantaris in the middle. Right? Then this one's also supposed to be attached to the Achilles tendon, is soleus. So those three, to differentiate them for the other ones, they're all kind of separated from that leg. All the other ones are right against the bone. These ones are all a bit separated, and they're all going into the Achilles tendon. Right? So if we count over laterally from the tibia, get that as your marker. First one over laterally, tibialis anterior. Next one here is extensor digitorum longus. Then we have Peroneus longus. That's the next one. And then the last one, counting over laterally, is Peroneus brevis. Alright, and if we count over medially, look this way, hopefully you guys can all see. We got flexor digitorum longus. So medially, remember, is the flexors. And then right beside it, all along the back here, is flexor hallucis longus. So if we had soleus down, flexor hallucis longus would be right underneath that. Right, so we take that up, and then we can see flexor hallucis longus there. And then the last one underneath there as well, so deep to flexor hallucis longus, we have tibialis posterior. So once again, as you go around your cats, you're probably not going to be able to find that one because flexor digitorum longus is attached to the leg still. So if you have any problems, let me know, and I'll tell you if you can see it or not on those cats. Right, so I'll go over the lesson on the skeleton. That was a head finally. Alright, so for gastrocnemius and plantaris and soleus, once again, they're all going to be inserting into the Achilles tendon, which is the tendon, the big tendon right here that inserts into the calcaneus, which is the back. It's your heel essentially when you feel it. Let's go over the foot motions as well that I'm going to be talking about. So I drew them on the board there. First one is ankle inversion. So that's when you're rolling onto the lateral side of your ankle. That's also the most common way people injure their ankle. Opposite is eversion. So you're rolling over medially on the foot. So the reason why people injure it more to an inversion is there's a big deltoid ligament here on the front of your foot, which is a lot of support on the inside of the foot. Even if you do it yourself, you know you have nowhere near as range of motion on that inside. It's a lot more stable. When you roll it out to the outside, it's no big ligaments there, so it's a lot easier to injure yourself that way. The next two are plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. So plantar flexion is when you get up on your tiptoes, so you're flexing those gastrocs. That's one of the primary movers for that. A lot of them help out with that too. The opposite is dorsiflexion, when you're bringing your toes up towards your shin. So plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion. All right, and then also toe flexion and extension. So toe extension, toes are coming up and extending, and flexing and curling them down. Same with the fingers. All right. So gastrocnemius is going to originate just above the lateral and medial condyles of the femur. So they're going to be up here, and they're crossing the knee joint. And then once again, inserting into the Achilles tendon. They're going to help with plantar flexion mainly, as well as knee flexion because they're crossing that knee joint. Same with plantaris, it's going to help with plantar flexion and knee flexion. And it's going to originate just above the lateral condyle of the femur only, and then once again into the Achilles tendon. So both those guys are crossing down pretty much like this. And gastrocnemius, those are those two muscle heads you can see pretty predominantly on the back of your leg when you flex your calf muscles. And the last one of those is soleus. So it's going to originate on the head of the fibula and the medial border of the tibia, so right here, and into the Achilles tendon. So what do you guys think that one's going to do? Not crossing the knee joint, but it's pretty much the same origin insertion as gastroc and plantaris. Anybody? Plantar flexion, all right? So it's only going to be plantar flexion because it's not crossing the knee joint. Gastroc and plantaris, they're crossing knee joints, so they're going to have a knee flexion. Next one's tibialis anterior. So this guy's going to originate on the lateral and anterior part of the tibia. So this guy's all messed up. So lateral side of the tibia, as well as the fibula, and it's going to insert on the base of the first metatarsal, so right here, as well as the medial cuneiform. So this one's going to be the opposite of those other guys, so it's going to be main function is dorsiflexion. So as you can see, it's on the front of the shin here, so inserts here and down here, so when the muscle contracts, it's going to pull that ankle up, and as well as inversion. So it's going to help pull up that muscle because it's crossing over here. When it pulls, it's going to pull your ankle up like that. Next one is extensor digitorum longus. So this one's going to originate on the lateral condyle of the tibia again, so right here, and it's going to insert into the middle and distal phalanges or digits of the foot, so all across those four toes, and it's also going to originate on the interosseous membrane between the tibia and the fibula. So you guys know what that is, interosseous membrane, what it refers to? Right, so we have one in our radius and ulna as well, and the tibia and fibula. So it's basically a sheath of a membrane that's connecting those two bones together just to keep them together essentially and stabilize it a bit more. So it's going to originate from there, go into your digits, and it's going to extend your toes, as well as help out with dorsiflexion since it's crossing over the top of the foot. All right, then you got your peroneals, so peroneus longus and brevis. So these guys are going to originate on the fibula and insert, one's going to go all the way around actually. So peroneus longus, as the name implies, is longer. It's going to originate on the head of the fibula here, go all the way around your lateral malleolus, so around your ankle, underneath your foot, and into the base of the first metatarsal. And then peroneus brevis is going to originate a bit lower on the lateral shaft of the fibula, go around that ankle again, but only insert here onto the base of the fifth metatarsal. So the peroneus longus, go all the way around. I can't do it with this thing, but anyway, it's going to go all the way around. Brevis is just going to go to here. Right? And they're going to be your main ankle eversion muscles. So they're on the lateral side of the leg, and they contract. You're going to pull your ankle up like that, as well as they're going to help out with some plantar flexion too. Last couple ones, tibialis posterior. It's going to originate on the posterior side of the tibia, as the name implies. So all on here, and it's going to insert a broad attachment on the plantar part of your foot. So plantar part of your foot is the bottom, so it's just going to insert here on the bottom of your foot, and its main functions are plantar flexion again and inversion. So those. And flexor digitorum longus, as the name implies, it's going to flex your toes or your digits. It's going to originate on the lateral condyle of the tibia, and same thing with extensor digitorum, it's going to originate on that interosseous membrane as well. So it's originating from here and along the middle between the tibia and the fibula, and it's going to insert onto the middle and distal phalanges of the foot, except it's going to be the opposite of the extensors. So extensor attaches onto the top of the foot, so when it pulls up, it's going to bring your toes up. This one's actually going to go beneath your foot, and it's going to pull down on the bottom of your toes, so they flex, and they're going to curl up towards your foot. And then the last one, flexor hallucis longus. As I said before, hallucis means your big toe, so it's going to be the same thing as the flexor digitorum essentially, except it's focusing on the big toe only. It's going to originate posterior surface of the fibula, so the smaller bone, shins, and then it's once again going to go underneath your foot and insert onto the big toe, and it's going to flex your big toe. As well as both of those, flexor digitorum and hallucis, they're also going to help out with some plantar flexion as well. Alright, so I'll go over the muscles again on the cat.
Do you want my glove?
It's okay, I'm not going to touch it with this hand.
Okay.
Alright, so we got gastrocnemius and plantaris once again that are together. So gastrocs are on the outside, plantaris is in the middle, soleus is below that guy, both of those, and it's also supposed to be inserting in here into the Achilles tendon. If we count over laterally from the tibia, we have tibialis anterior, extensor digitorum longus, and then the peroneals. So you have peroneus longus and peroneus brevis. So a good way to remember those ones laterally is the extensor digitorum longus as well as the peroneals. If we go medially, which we're going to do now, those ones all start with flexor except for the tibialis posterior. So we have flexor digitorum longus here, the first one over medially, and then flexor hallucis longus is going to be all along the back here. And then the last one underneath, deep to that, is tibialis posterior. So once again, that one's incredibly hard to find, so don't stress out too much about that one. All right, so you guys got 3 times.